Welcome to this explainer. It's actually wild when you think about it. You can spend literally millions of dollars on world-class catering, incredible programming, and premium entertainment. But do you know what consistently ranks as the #1 cause of negative guest feedback at large gatherings? Yep, transportation. It is the absolute critical path. So today, we're going to unpack a comprehensive operational blueprint for mastering event transportation. Look, if you're an event planner, a transport manager, or an operations pro, I don't need to tell you that large events are incredibly complex. You've got hundreds of moving parts, different vehicle types, and thousands of people that all need to sync up perfectly. So what we're focusing on today is how to transform transportation from a massive logistical vulnerability into a highly structured, flawless operation. And we do this through a framework known as Event Mobility Orchestration. Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to follow a highly structured consultative agenda to navigate this whole framework. We'll start off by really defining the transportation challenge, and then we'll explore the concept of command centers. From there, we'll break down the 5 operational layers, discuss the vital human element in teams and communication, look at the necessary technology and decision frameworks, and then wrap things up by covering measuring success and implementation. All right, Section 1, the transportation challenge. Let's get right to the core problem. Why on earth is transportation consistently the biggest failure point at large events? Well, the reality is that operations teams will spend months obsessing over venue logistics, sponsorships, the on-site guest experience. But then they kind of treat transportation as this minor logistical footnote, something that can just be manually coordinated at the last minute. But let's look at what actually goes wrong in the real world. Picture this, a 12,000 attendee technology conference. You've got 3 primary routes, 22 vehicles in play, and your entire dispatch operation is being held together by a WhatsApp group and a shared manual spreadsheet. Okay, sure, it might actually hold together at first, but then bam, the afternoon keynote wraps up 20 minutes early. Suddenly, you have a massive crowd of 6,000 people surging toward the main shuttle zone all at exactly the same time. And because your dispatcher has absolutely no live view of where the vehicles are, 2 buses that are sitting totally idle just around the corner don't get deployed. Wait times skyrocket by 35 minutes, the complaints start flooding social media, and the client has to watch their meticulously planned event just completely unravel right in front of them. And, this happens because large events run multiple modes of transport simultaneously. It's like a giant puzzle. You aren't just moving one type of passenger. You've got shuttle buses running on continuous fixed routes. You've got dedicated cars for delegates and VIP speakers that require literal white glove timing. You've got airport transfers strictly tied to highly specific, constantly changing flight schedules. Add in the shared vehicles for staff shift changes, plus the on-call cars for those inevitable last-minute requests. Every single one of these modes has its own unique operational logic. So attempting to manually coordinate all these competing demands without a centralized structure, it isn't just hard, it is a massive liability that pretty much guarantees failure at scale. So, Section 2, command centers. This brings us directly to the solution. To fix all this unmanaged, chaotic mobility, we need to look at what true event mobility orchestration actually looks like in practice. The most crucial thing here is understanding what a command center truly is. By definition, an event mobility command center is a centralized operational structure providing real-time visibility and decision-making control over every single vehicle, route, driver, and passenger zone. We are talking about a fundamental mindset shift here. You're moving away from reactive coordination, where you only scramble to act when someone complains, to proactive command, where you manage the entire ecosystem from a position of absolute visibility. And this brilliantly illustrates the difference. Let's be very, very clear. A true command center combines live fleet data, strictly structured communication, and clear hierarchical decision authority. It is definitely not a WhatsApp thread. It's not a manual spreadsheet you have to keep hitting refresh on. And it is certainly not a dispatcher just staring at a consumer mapping app on their personal phone. Those fragile manual methods, they might work for a small corporate dinner, but when you apply them to large-scale events, they fail reliably, every single time. Moving right along to Section 3, the 5 operational layers. Let's dissect the structural blueprint itself. These are the 5 layers that literally connect your pre-event planning directly to your live execution on the big day. Let's see how this builds step by step. Layer 1 is pre-event intelligence. This is your bedrock. It's all about detailed demand forecasting, route mapping, and creating staging plans. Honestly, success on event day relies heavily on how well you handle this first layer before a single vehicle even turns its engine on. Layer 2 is fleet assignment and dispatch, matching the exact right vehicle to the right passenger at the exact right time. Layer 3, live monitoring, gives you that crucial God mode situational awareness as the event unfolds. Layer 4 is incident response, dictating exactly how you handle the unexpected.
And finally, layer 5 is the post-event debrief, where you turn all that operational data into actionable insights for the next gig.
I want to pause and highlight Layer 4 specifically, because this is where the command setter really earns its keep. Look, every large event, no matter how perfectly planned, is going to face incidents. A sudden vehicle breakdown, a localized traffic jam, you name it. What separates a professionally run command center from just a standard dispatch desk is having predefined response targets. For example, setting a hard protocol that ensures a replacement vehicle is dispatched within exactly 5 minutes of an incident being flagged, along with immediate communication to the passengers. That rigid structure is exactly what keeps a single isolated breakdown from cascading into a major event-wide crisis. All right, Section 4, Teams and Communication Frameworks. Let's shift our focus to the actual humans running the system, because at the end of the day, a command center is only as good as its staff, their clearly defined roles, and the discipline they bring to the table.
Achieving that proactive command we talked about requires a really rigid division of labor. Think of it like a pit crew. The transport ops lead makes the final operational calls and keeps a high-level strategic view. Your lead dispatcher is the operational core. They're in the trenches, efficiently managing up to 20 active vehicles at a time. Out on the ground, you have your zone supervisors reporting real-time crowd conditions directly from the pickup zones. Then you have a client liaison specifically designated to handle VIP and stakeholder requests without bothering the rest of the team. And your technology operator is constantly monitoring platform alerts and GPS data feeds. The big takeaway? Clearly defined roles prevent chaos. When you have split attention, say a dispatcher trying to soothe an angry client on the phone while simultaneously trying to reroute 25 vehicles, that is exactly how a tiny logistical hiccup explodes into a massive failure. And to keep that specialized team functioning like one cohesive unit under intense pressure, you need absolute communication discipline. Driver communications have to happen seamlessly via a centralized platform app. No fragmented text messages on personal phones. Zone supervisors need a dedicated reporting channel. Check-ins should happen predictably every 15 minutes during those peak load periods. And structured briefings, we're talking T-2 hours, T-30 minutes, and mid-event, are absolutely mandatory. This strict discipline significantly reduces operational risk, completely removes the noise, and ensures your team stays proactive. Moving into Section 5, Technology and Decision Frameworks. Now, even the best trained team in the world needs the right tools to execute this at scale. So let's look at the tech stack and the workflows that empower these split-second choices. If you're evaluating tech for large-scale ops, there is a comprehensive suite of totally non-negotiable requirements. You absolutely must have a real-time fleet dashboard with live GPS tracking, vehicle status, and automatic ETA alerts, all powered by underlying vehicle telematics. You need sophisticated multi-mode dispatch management that can connect directly to your other event software via custom API integrations. Drivers need a dedicated mobile app with turn-by-turn nav, in-app messaging, and a one-button SOS feature. Your high-volume zones can even use RFID scanning to track rapid boarding. And crucially, you need direct passenger communications. Providing real-time ETAs via a simple QR code or SMS means your guests are never left guessing. Every single one of these tools serves one unified purpose, giving you visibility and speeding up your decision-making. Armed with that advanced tech, the operations team uses a highly structured day of decision loop: observe, assess, act, and log. First, they observe by actively scanning dashboards to catch issues early. Next, they assess that real-time data against strict predefined operational thresholds. Then, they act by rapidly executing a pre-agreed response. And finally, they log every single action with a timestamp. The real beauty of this workflow is that by establishing these thresholds in advance, like knowing the exact protocol if a shuttle is delayed by exactly 15 minutes, you completely remove subjective opinions, emotions, and hesitation from critical time-sensitive decisions. Which brings us to our final part, Section 6, Measuring Success and Implementation. Let's talk about how you actually prove the value of the system and seamlessly roll it out. Now, what's really interesting about this is how measuring these exact key performance indicators transforms an average ops team into a premium transport partner. You should be consistently aiming for an on-time pickup rate of 92% or above. To keep guests happy, average passenger wait times must stay under 8 minutes. Your fleet utilization rate needs to optimally sit between 70% and 80%. Why? Because if you push it any higher, you've completely eliminated your reserve capacity for emergencies, and your incident resolution time should strictly be under 10 minutes. Tracking these numbers doesn't just prove to your client that you nailed it on the day of, it fundamentally drives continuous improvement for every future event. So, if you're ready to adopt this framework, here is your literal countdown. a strict 4-stage implementation roadmap. 4 to 6 weeks out, you knock out your foundational setup, mapping routes, defining demand, and configuring your tech. 1 week out, you run a comprehensive dry run to simulate a live session and stress test all your communications. On the big day, activation starts early. You open that command center at T-minus 3 hours before a single passenger even moves. And finally, post-event, you mandate a debrief by pulling that exact KPI report within 24 hours, while all the operational realities are still fresh in everyone's minds. To really summarize the true underlying value of event mobility orchestration, I want to leave you with this core philosophy from our source material. The difference between reacting to events and anticipating them is what this blueprint is built around. A fully integrated command center sees that delay forming long before the passenger ever notices it and acts decisively before those logistical problems ever trickle down to ruin the guest experience. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one provocative question to evaluate your own operational readiness. Think about your next big event. Are you simply coordinating your event's transport, just waiting around to react when things inevitably go wrong? Or are you ready to command it? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer. Catch you next time.